Elementary School District. I'm Chris Murphy. I get to chair the board, and our first agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I invite folks, if they so wish, to rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Folks. Our next executive session, our next agenda item is executive session as per one Vermont statutes annotated in section 313(7), which relates to the academic records or suspension or discipline of students. So I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session as described and to include the superintendent who's with us as well.
I'll make your motion.
And the principal panel, of course. Very good. So we have first and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving into executive session as described, our guests, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. So that's. Well set. Thank you. Here. Beth.
Thank you.
Is that kind of on TV?
Yes.
Tap the Wi-Fi coming out of the space. So we have now exited executive session, and this is notification. The board has voted to uphold the policy regarding expulsion for one of our SVUESD students. That brings us to agenda item 3, public comments.
I'm just Captain Clark here again for a union rep, just so we're more visible.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen Mundy, and I just have an update for Bennington Cares. There's a project starting with the 5th grade class at Molly Stark. That is a partnership between Bennington Cares, the Bennington Multicultural Center, and the Vermont Extension's Master Gardeners. The 5th grade class for a leadership project is planting some gardens, planting vegetables in the back landscape area of the school. They're doing that late May and early June. The Multicultural Center and the Master Gardeners are going to help to maintain the gardens through the summer, which has always been an issue in doing planting for schools. And then the 5th grade class, the new 5th grade class in the fall will harvest the vegetables that they all and they're going to add the beds over the next 2 years. So it's a sort of a 2-year project. Bennington Cares is recruiting community members who can help with the planting and also with the maintenance of the gardens through the summer. So that's a nice project that's starting to develop. And then also at Molly Stark, the art teacher there does a school-wide art project every May. And this year, Bennington Cares had done a community quilt project based on the G's Ben's quilts that a group of African-American women started in the 1800s. They're magnificent, abstract designed quilts. And 2 of our members at Bennington Cares designed an art project where anybody of any age really can make squares that are similar to, or at least based on looking at these G's Ben's quilts. This May, all the classes at Molly Stark, every student is going to make a quilt square. They do this with papers, and then it'll be assembled into a large school quilt, and it's going to be on display starting at the end of May, and will stay at the school because they are looking for all ways to decorate. So Bennington Cares is still is alive and doing things that start to pop up kind of naturally. So I'm also volunteering on Thursday mornings at Bennington Elementary School and just helping out with whatever they need. And I'm just having a blast.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was the superintendent helping me better understand the process. So when we exited, no, not you at all. It's my misunderstanding of the process here. When we came out of executive session, I announced the board had voted to uphold a policy regarding expulsion. The superintendent just pointed out that we need to actually take the vote with the understanding of what we were talking about in an open session. So that was my error. So it's like to backtrack so we can finalize the agenda item under number 2. I would entertain a motion to uphold the policy regarding expulsion for the student we were discussing in executive session. Thank you, Cindy. Do we have a second on that? Thank you, Glenn. Any further discussion? We talked about it a lot in executive session. Hearing none, all those in favor of upholding the policy to expel a student as we discussed in executive session, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you for that correction, Superintendent Culkeen. All right, that moves us to agenda item number 4, which is the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as published with the exception of item number 6, which has been stricken. So I would like to propose that we move forward with the consent agenda with that edit,
Except 6.
with the exception of 6, yes, which is the nomination.
Make the motion and we accept it.
Thanks.
Minus 6.
Thank you, Cindy. We have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you very much. All right, we have a first and a second. Any discussion on approving our consent agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published with the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. That brings us to agenda item number 5, which is the administrator's contract. Director Galt, do you want to help guide us through this conversation, please?
Sure. That's something out here. As you may be aware, our principals and assistant principals bargain collectively under an administration association. They asked the boards, both the elementary board and the MAU board, to reopen their contract in light of the teacher and ESP contract settlements, which the board agreed to do. That process went on for a number of months this year and has come to a conclusion. And so we're bringing the sort of tentative agreement to this board for consideration. What was settled through that process as a tentative agreement was essentially to adjust the base salary for the contract by an additional 2%, both for the current year and for next year. Their increases had been scheduled to be 3% in both years. Partially in light of the teacher and support staff contracts that settled at 9% for both of those years. They asked to reopen their contract. So the contract process both looked at internal, comps with those other collective bargaining units, as well as external comps with other principal contracts, assistant principal contracts, to make sure that we were staying market competitive. And so the tentative agreement that was come to between the board members on the committee and the association was a 2% increase over the existing, in addition to the existing 3% increase. So it would be 5% and 5%. And then they will reopen their next full contract negotiation. So what you have before you is just the very simple 2% adjustment that's been proposed for the current year and next year. Does that make sense?
Any questions from Director Galt?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand. So the 3 now, we're going to add 2, it's going to be 5.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And just to clarify, it says retroactive, so we're talking about paying out 2% for the preceding year.
For this, yes, for the current year, they made the request in the fall to open. So they were timely and the process was ongoing. So the decision was the adjustment would be made, assuming it gets ratified, retroactive to the start date. We have a rep on that negotiation.
Yeah, so Stephanie, Steph Mulligan and I met with the reps from the administrators.
Just making sure.
Yep. So, any other questions regarding this? Very good. Then I would entertain a motion to accept this proposed amendment to the administrator's contract.
Make the motion.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Second.
Thanks, Eddie. So we have first and a second. Any further discussion about this?
Just, do we have enough funds to room for this? Just, we did, that was the first thing we checked with Renee. Wrapped in September, yes.
All right, very good. So all those in favor of approving the modification to the Administrators Association contract, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. That carries. Thanks, Director Bell.
Thanks.
Superintendent Colkeen, do you want to speak to us about this operations agenda item, please?
Yes, this is a scheduled replacement. It is in your budget for next school year. It came in under the amount funded, so you have sufficient funds to do it. So the recommendation is to lower bidder, which is Doxy Roofing. It will start after July 1 and be significantly completed by August 15th and completed hopefully by the start of the school year. It's for the older part of the building, not the entire building. So
So for this, this is necessary maintenance for our buildings. So I would entertain a motion that the SVUESD Board of Directors award the contract to Doxy Roofing Company LLC and authorize expenditures from the general fund of up to $129,000 to cover the scope of associated install costs as outlined in the project estimated cost summary. So moved. Thanks, Mike. We have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Jeff. So we have a first and a second. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to award the contract to Doxy Roofing, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Great, thank you. That brings us to finance. The treasury report, I did not check that to see if the treasury report had been posted.
I have not seen.
Superintendent Colkeen, anything else to bring up under finance?
No.
Okay.
And then do I already sign the warrant? Thank you.
Yes. So now Superintendent Colkeen, I'm going to turn the floor to you for agenda item 8,
Yeah.
which regards our best use of facilities.
It is, it says action requested, that there is no action request this evening. This comes from, we had so many new members, the request came last month that we include the full report here so everyone can read it again. And what action you take from it. As you remember, last month they went over what the options are that we need to discuss. So, but we had new members, so this got included. So no action tonight other than read it and read it again if you haven't read it, and particularly what the options are, and then get together with that committee and see if they want to make any of those options or recommendation to the full board.
And Superintendent Colkeen or Jeff, do either of you, or Mary Ellen for that matter, is there a meeting scheduled for this ad hoc committee?
No.
If not,
I will speak to Holly is leading this drive.
Okay.
So I will suggest to her that she needs to schedule a meeting sooner rather than
If
later.
you could please do that.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. I mean, so the report, if anyone not read it or at least not finished it, I think we got our money worth for the report. It's comprehensive. It takes a very careful look at all of our facilities. The notion was to make the assessments simply based on what I will call the objective aspects, number of students, square footage in buildings, age of buildings, those sorts of things. The report was compiled without asking for input from community members or school officials. It really was simply to take as sort of as scientific a view as possible. That's a terrible use of the term in this case, but like as objective an accounting of our space as possible. So please do take a look at it. And if I'm certain the human factor will be incorporated as we make our decisions, but it begins with this report. So please do take a look at it. That brings us to agenda item 9, which is the supervisory union report, and I'll leave it between Jeff and Glenn to make a report, please.
I got this one. All right, basically last month all centered around the assistant superintendent search. We can report that assignments have been made. There's 2 members on the pre-interview and 2 members on the final candidates. That is beginning tomorrow. Not a lot else went down to my recollection at that meeting. Pretty spirited. We're super excited about the potential candidates and that the process gets underway so that we're ready to go for July 1.
Is so being ready by July 1, is there a clear timeline that's anticipated in terms of first interviews, second interviews, that kind of thing?
I think I can speak to that better at the next meeting. We're
Okay.
just forming for tomorrow.
Okay,
So
all right,
I don't want to presuppose.
sure, fair enough. Any questions, Jeff, anything to add? No? Any questions for our SU reps? All right, so moving on to our chair report, a few quick things just to note. So 11 days ago, I think at this point, our senators Plunkett and Bongartz for our neck of the woods made a presentation at MAU regarding sort of what the face of Vermont education may look like in coming years. Cat TV, as they so often do, did a great job in recording it. And it's available. So it's on there. It's about an hour and a half-ish, hour 45 maybe. Lots of good information. I have my own feelings about some of it. Some of it might be great. Some of it maybe not so great, but I would really encourage every board member and every community member, take a look at it. Watch the video, break it up over a couple sessions, listen to it while you're driving, do whatever, but get the information in your heads. Because we are potentially facing some major changes to the way that education is delivered, public education is delivered in Vermont. So it's best to stay apprised of that. And then also, board members had a hard copy given to them today. It's in the board packet. The Agency of Education Series 100 rules. And those require boards to set goals. So what I would like to do is to have board members take a look at that, what was laid out in front of you tonight, over the next 4 weeks. And when we resume in June, to set those goals as per what our requirements are with these Series 100 rules. Just as a reminder, we typically do not meet in July, so it would be great if we can hammer these out in June. Otherwise, it's going to be August when we can pick them back up.
We're looking for set goals in each subcategory.
I've not taken a full look at what this series of rules has to say, so I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. Very exciting.
So other boards look forward with excitement to the same.
I sure hope so.
They haven't received it. You're the first.
Okay.
one.
So we get to set the tone,
Okay.
and I say with enthusiastic enthusiasm. Again, it's the better Joel talking. I think we talked about that before we went live. Okay, so that brings us to agenda item 11, which is the FYI. It includes, there's new admin regs and new information in a number of policies that are there, as well as a budget status report. So our last two agenda items as part of agenda item number 11 are executive sessions. We're going to go back into executive session. Pursuant to Vermont Statute Annotated 313A1B, which pertains to labor relations, agreements with employees, and Vermont Statute Annotated 313A14, which regards disciplinary or dismissal action against a public officer or employee, with the understanding that nothing in that section shall be construed to impair the right of such officer or employee to a public hearing if formal charges are brought. So I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to those two descriptors and inviting the superintendent and Director Galt in with us. I'll make the motion. Thank you, Jeff.
I'll second.
Thanks, Eddie. We have first and a second. Any discussion about that? All those in favor entering into executive session as described, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Any abstentions? Nope. And that motion. So I would entertain a motion, please, to exit executive session, please.
So moved.
Thanks, Cindy. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion about exiting executive session? Hearing none. All those in favor of exiting executive session, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Very good. That was unanimous. So I would entertain a motion, please, that we empower our supervisory union representatives to negotiate a salary increase for non-union employees.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Cindy. We have a second on that, please.
Second.
Thank you very much, Craig. We have a first and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of empowering our supervisory union representatives to negotiate a salary increase for non-union employees, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So, having exhausted our agenda for the evening, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Cindy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jeff. We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Cindy, you're gonna make it.
Yeah.
That's right. It's still bright outside.